skilled player in the game? I'm sorry, was Shaq ever the most skilled player in the game? But he was the best at one point, wasn't he? But he could do it in the playoffs.
I enjoyed Smith's story. I enjoyed it. I just want to say that. I like the graphics, the whole
So do
thing.
I. I love it.
Cool.
And by the way, Shaq was the most dominant, never the best.
What we did.
Oh, really? Shaq was never the best player in the game?
No, he was.
Shaq was never the best player in the game.
Oh, yes, he was the most dominant.
Yes, he was. He was the best player in the game.
Okay.
Big Perk's here for this. Hey, Perk. But Max, I'm going to start with you. I know you got some feelings on that. Was Shaq ever the best player in the NBA?
Unless you have amnesia, of course. Is this a trick question? Shaq, do me a favor. Tweet at the show. Just answer this question yourself. Because I know what Kobe and Shaq used to say. Kobe best, Shaq most dominant. But let me make it simple. And Stephen A. picks up on Shaq most dominant, not the best. Oh, well, he's not the most skilled Duncan or Kobe had more skills. In 99-2000, Shaq was the MVP, 30 points, 14 boards, and 3 blocks a game. He was the Finals MVP 3 years in a row. 3-time Finals MVP. By the way, he and Kobe played on the same team. He was a 3-time Finals MVP. But let me cut through all the nonsense. In those years, let's just take 99-2000. If we said, okay, list the best players in the NBA, the only position that Shaq would be in is 1. So everything else is semantics. You'd have Shaq 1, and then either Kobe or Duncan 2, and then the other 3, and then KG or whoever 4. But Shaq would be 1, and that was not the only season he'd be 1 on the list. In fact, the guy who had the most kind of undisputed claim to being the number 1 guy in the NBA, the best player in the NBA, between Jordan and LeBron's prime. I mean, Kobe was that. Duncan, you could argue, was that. But the guy who had the number 1 most undisputed claim was Shaq. That was the dude. How are we going to sit here and pretend that didn't happen? Of course Shaq was the best player in the game.
Well, first of all, my apologies, because I thought that we were talking about in terms of their playing time and whatever. 1999-2000, Shaq averaged 29-7, and he was clearly in his prime, most dominant, no question about it. He was unbelievable. From that point forward, it was Kobe, period. And when I look at Tim Duncan, and how spectacular he was. After Shaq won the MVP and they won their championship that year, the very next year, Kobe averaged 28.5. I would remind you that Shaq was shooting 52% from the free throw line. I would remind you that Shaq was getting bigger and bigger, and Shaq played when he wanted to play. Now, be very clear about this. Shaq was clearly the most dominant. I think Shaq is the most dominant force we've ever seen other than Wilt Chamberlain.
In our lifetime.
In our lifetime, okay? That's the most dominant force. And I'm not throwing any shade whatsoever. But not only did Shaq defer to Kobe in key moments, Shaq deferred to Kobe in the fourth quarter. Of course. Shaq deferred to Kobe at the free throw line. And Shaq, even though he could defend, especially if you challenged him, he'd shut you up real quick. That's not something he really had to do. So when I'm looking at Shaq overall, and I'm thinking from a skill set, the man was 7'1", 330 pounds he walked around with, all right? He was mobile, he was agile, his footwork was big time. He could do damage when he wanted to. He'd be in the open court finishing off fast breaks. We get all of that. But at the end of the day, when you have a teammate, the likes of Kobe Bean Bryant, okay? I'm sorry, I don't feel that way. But again, the mistake is mine, not yours, because I wasn't really talking about 1999, 2000. I thought, I thought you was looking at it basically
during their time together, but I'll dispute that too.
All right, you can dispute that, but I'm telling you, Shaq is unstoppable, the most dominant force other than Wilt Chamberlain we have ever seen in the history of basketball. But in terms of the best, from a skilled perspective, I mean, I look at Tim Duncan, I look at Kobe Bryant, his teammate.
He's not more skilled than those guys. I'm just saying, rank them. 1, 2, 3. Shaq, not just in 99-2000. I mean, Kobe was incredible. And of course, he was the closer. He's the guy who could handle the ball, create his own shot, clutch player, the whole thing. But Shaq, the following year, after those numbers I gave you 29, 13, and 3 blocks. Again, basically the same numbers. And by the way, he was the Finals MVP, not just in 99-2000, but in 2000, 2001,
no answer to him.
2000, 2002. He and Kobe played on the same team. He was the Finals MVP.
Perk get in here, guys. Perk, get in on this. Where are you? There you are.
I'm right here, Molly. Molly, I just want to know what's going on today. I've been watching First Take all morning, and I just want to say this right now to Stephen A. and Max. Stay off the weed. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's the
It is
OG
Friday.
being passed around, the purple. I don't know the strands that's going around over there at Seaport Studio right now. But some of the things I've been hearing
look at
this
me.
morning has been blasphemous. Okay, but look, Stephen A., I gotta agree with Max on this point because for those 3 years, not only was Shaq dominant, he was the face of the NBA. I can't think of no other guy that was having an imprint on the NBA like Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, he was averaging during that time
No dispute there.
27 points a game, 11 rebounds, 57% shooting. No, I wasn't there yet. I got in at 2003. But what I'm saying is, Stephen A., when you look at Shaq, and this is what people undervalue him at, when you talk about a skill set, Shaq footwork, Shaq ability to maneuver at that size, that's a skill set. Like, yeah, he wasn't going between his legs 1,000 times and doing all that, but you talk about the footwork that he had, was able to face up, spin off you, snatch the screws out the rim, the little soft touch turnaround that he had with one hand towards the baseline, soft touch jump hook. His passing ability is underrated. The way he was able to push the ball up the floor is no other player. Like Tim Duncan was good. He was great. Kobe Bryant was great. But Shaq was on another
Tracy
level
McGrady.
in those 3 years. And like, yeah, but I know that, right? But they felt under Shaq. And when Shaq came into arenas, he opposed his will. It was polarizing when he stepped in foot on the court. The opponents were terrified of him. So I got to say, not only he was the most dominant, but he was the face of the NBA in those 3 years.
Those three.
I never questioned whether or not he was the face of the NBA.
He's the best player.
He was the face of the NBA.
No, best player. Best player.
He was clearly the most dominant. I get that. Shaq and I have talked about this. We've had some disagreements, but not many, because he understands what Kobe Bryant brought to the table, and he understood that at 330 and a spin move. You remember, Shaq didn't spin without them damn elbows, scaring the living daylights out of people because you don't want to get hit by that brother. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.